Montana Baldwin, and I have been teaching at Arlee High School for 10 years. We're located on the southern end of the Flathead Reservation in western Montana, and the demographics of our school are 70% Native American, 30% non-Indian. A lot of the families are multi-generational here in the community, and part of where we come from is the place is important. Because we're on a reservation, I think it's really important that if I do cover any kind of Indian literature by Native American writers, sometimes those writers talk about things that are negative, what would be considered negative stereotypes about Indian people. And the last thing I want to do is have students go away from reading something like that with the idea that that's what we're perpetuating. So I invite students to investigate some of those stereotypes and try to talk about them and say, you know, this is a really popular writer, but he's sort of reinforcing some of the things that we're trying to break out of here. Stereotypes about Native Americans, both negative and positive.
So we went down to Florence to explain how life on the reservation was, because they read a series of books by the author Sherman Alexie, and he stereotypes about the reservation, well, although his reservation is really poor.
And then try to balance that out with what are some of the positive stereotypes and how can we also sort of celebrate those. So one of the things I think is really important about teaching in any place, but you know, in my place, is that I incorporate as much local literature as possible and to try to make that literature come alive for students. So for example, in one class this year I taught a book called Perma Red by Deborah Magpie Erling, who is a Salish author, and it's really set right here. We could actually go to some of the places and visit.
I like the way she teaches it because she just gets you involved, and she has books that you can relate to.
In Montana, we have a mandate called Indian Education for All, and basically stipulates that all students, Indian and non-Indian, will learn about Native American topics, specifically related to the tribes of Montana. It also requires that teachers and educators of all levels of schools learn about those topics as well, and that they work with local tribal individuals and organizations to incorporate that in an authentic and respectful way. When I teach Montana history, we look at Lewis and Clark through multiple perspectives. So the project for that was a painting that they had to select one of the events in the expedition through this area of Montana, western Montana, and paint it from someone's perspective. We have one painting which depicts the loss of the buffalo. Even though the literal perspective is through the sights of a gun, the way the student is going to articulate that is that it was a loss for the tribal people because they use the buffalo for everything. If it's local, it's going to be something that students can connect to, and so it enriches whatever we're doing in our classroom.